Rate Brian Kelleher. Our first question goes to Gabriel Gonzalez with Kate Side Press.
A lot of people disappointed that your fight fell through with Ricky Simone. You just talk about having that change up from Ricky to Kevin.
Yeah, I was excited to fight Ricky too. I think a lot of people were really excited for that matchup. Unfortunately, his cornerman tested positive, I believe. So they had to take the precautions and pull him from the card. But I'm just happy to be fighting still. I put the work in to prepare. I got a new opponent that was willing to step up, on a week notice, which is nice. So we're here and we're gonna fight and what I trained to do.
When you have something like this happen and they change up the opponent on short notice, is it like cramming for a test? Do you try to just watch a ton of film and get everything you can, or is it just more you focus on yourself and a little bit less of that?
Yeah, for me, it's always focus on myself. I let my coaches kind of do the research and the digging on certain things. I'll watch a couple of fights and get some tendencies, but I don't like to overthink that stuff because for me, improvisation is key in there. And this guy might fight me differently than he fought somebody else, so I just focus on myself going in there.
The last fight didn't go your way. What did you take most from that fight, and just how did you use it to move forward to become a better fighter?
Yeah, I took positives away. I fought a top 10 guy and I performed pretty well in that fight. I feel like, just lost on the judges' scorecards. I didn't get dominated in my opinion. I had some success in there. I felt good in there. Um, I just kind of got edged out and I think, maybe a little different approach to my fights coming up can help me with the judges' scorecards. I'm a fighter that always looks for the finish, so I'm not really thinking about that while I'm in there. I'm just trying to kill. So I took a lot of good things from that fight.
This is your third fight of the pandemic. Does the whole process, quarantine, testing, no fans, etc., I mean, does it feel normal by now? Do you feel like this is normal?
Yeah, it feels pretty good to me. I mean, it feels like less pressure. I love the fans and everything. It's definitely exciting to hear them roar out there, but it's kind of quiet and intimate, and it's just like another sparring session at the gym. So I'm getting used to it. This is my third time doing it, pretty close back to back to back. So yeah, I'm getting comfortable, and I don't mind it at all.
Final question for me. What would you like to show the most performance this Saturday?
Just my overall well-rounded game, being able to finish the fight anywhere, whether it's on the ground, on the feet, fighting smart, and if it goes 3 rounds, just being the guy that everybody knows that I won that fight.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Our next question is from Ezekiel Berganzi with Super Luchas.
Hey Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Fine, thank you. Um, Kevin Natividad took the fight on a really, really short notice. Do you think that will be an advantage for you?
It could be, but these are those little things that I stay away from overthinking. I think that can be a negative to look into these little things that don't really mean much. For all I know, this guy was preparing to fight the best fight of his life, and he just happened to be a guy that was ready to take the fight. And I can't look at it as, oh, maybe he's not ready. Maybe I'm, more prepared because I was preparing for Ricky Simone. In the end, it's a fight. You go in there, anything can happen, and you just got to be prepared to beat anybody that's in front of you.
I was reading your Twitter, and when you got the Ricky Simon fight, you say that what you like about taking short notice fights is that you don't have this that you are talking about the overthinking factor. Is this the same case scenario, like um, taking another fight or even more shorter notice? Is the same for you now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like technically, this fight wasn't really too short notice. I knew about the fight about 4 weeks ago. I'm already training. It's not like I fall out of shape too bad after fight. So 4 weeks is not too bad. I mean, I only really need like 5, 6 weeks to properly prepare. I feel like. But for featherweight, making the weights pretty easy for me, especially on shorter notice. It's nice. And yeah, like you said, there's a build up to these fights. There's, that time that you're thinking about the fight is longer when you have 6, 8 weeks. and there's this anticipation, and you finally get to fight week, and it's just a whole long drawn out process. For me, I kind of enjoy like not even having to deal with that, just being ready to fight at all times and just like, oh, here's another fight. Let's go do what we do.
And what aspects of your fighting game did you improve since your last fight?
Yeah, just everything. You know, you got to be evolving everywhere in the game. You know, there's these new guys coming up, and they're very well-rounded fighters. They're good everywhere. So just being prepared for everything. You know, working on little specific things that maybe would entice the judges to be on my side in case we do go to a decision. But ultimately, just being myself, having fun out there, and executing.
And my last question, um, will you write another song to try to get a contract for Fire Island?
I might have to break out the ukulele again for the Fight Island. I don't know though. That 14-hour flight is not too interesting for me. I kind of like the Vegas. It's not too bad. 5 hours for me, in and out. You know, and the whole quarantine thing in Abu Dhabi. I don't know. The experience might be cool. I know they fly you out like first class style, but I'm liking Vegas so far. I might get one at the end of the year when they come back here, hopefully.
Since you talked about that, would you like to fight with people, or do you prefer? Because a lot of fighters say, no, you know what? I don't like to fight with people because it's kind of distracting. So, what do you say about that?
What I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. What do you mean, like fight with people?
With public?
Oh, like on Twitter or like social media stuff,
No, no,
or
no. Because with the pandemic, there's no public, and a lot of fighters say
oh,
that they can focus more with in the coaches, in
with
the
no fans.
opponent. Yeah. What do you think about
Gotcha. Yeah, with the no fans for me, like the first time it was a little bit different. You know, you're walking out to a stadium in Jacksonville, is a little more open. But ultimately, when I get in the cage, like I'm 20/20 vision. You know, I'm focused. I don't really have time to be thinking about any other distractions. I'm listening to my corners. I am, you know, just dialed in with my opponent. So, you know, ultimately, with fans, without fans, you have to go in there and be ready to fight at your best.
Thank you and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Jay Anderson with Gateside Press.
Hey, thanks very much. And Brian, just a couple of quick ones from me. I mean, I imagine you can kind of understand the situation, the position that Kevin's in, coming in as a short notice fighter for his debut, because you did that yourself and obviously made a great first impression. Does that give you any kind of advantage or edge knowing what he's going through?
No, you know, I was saying before, it's just like any other fight, you know, I'm prepared to fight the best guy that's in front of me, no matter who it is. You can never underestimate anybody in this sport, whether it's short notice or not. You know, if these guys are professionals, they're out there training hard, they're waiting for their big chance, and they're gonna come to kill. So, you know, I'm expecting the toughest Kevin there is, you know, put in front of me in a hard fought fight.
And just another quick one. In terms of featherweight, is this just a thing that you're doing during the pandemic, or would you consider sticking around a little longer in the weight class?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is just something, you know, originally when I took those last fights, they were pretty short notice. You know, it would be really hard for me to make bantamweight. So I proposed 145. And, you know, these are other bantamweights that are willing to fight at 145. I think they're kind of in the same boat. And they're like, hey, you know, let's fight without going through a drastic weight cut and having to drain ourselves. I think it makes for healthier fights, number one, and more exciting fights. You know, I feel stronger. I feel healthier. I feel just taking punches better, stuff like that, you know, going in at 145. So, you know, I'm gonna keep doing this as long as the UFC is down for it. You know, I appreciate them being willing to do this, you know, with these circumstances. So, you know, if I have 6, 7, 8 weeks this, I can make bantamweight and we can go back down there. But why not? You know, all that matters is winning, and once you win, you know that's all that people notice, and you move on, move forward.
All right, well, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Danny Segura with MMA Junkie.
Brian, you mentioned there the 145-pound weight class that you're competing in. Do you think about this at all? The fact that like maybe those wins might not count for your 135-pound sort of climb up the rankings, or because you're fighting other 35ers, you feel like they do translate to the rankings there?
No, I feel like it translates, because the rankings really have always been like an anomaly. Like no one really knows whether to believe in them or not anyway. So for me, I mean, the proof's in the pudding, right? I fought Hunter Azure. I got a big knockout there, and then they gave me Cody Stamann next, and that fight was at 145. So they gave me top prospect, a top 10 guy at, who is a bantamweight, and I even fought him at 145 for that. So I think they're still looking at it like if you win, we're gonna move you along and move you forward, and that's my focus.
Yeah. And do you feel like it any like does it switch your fighting style a little bit? Like does the extra 10 pounds that you get to carry on, does that change the way you fight? Have you felt differently?
It doesn't really change my fighting style, but I have felt a little bit different. Like I was saying, healthier in there, able to take harder shots. I have pop to my shots, more power in there. I just feel like my energy is better. When you cut down all that weight, you only have so much time to recover and get back to yourself 100%. And you don't really know if you do get there. So for me, 145, I kind of know like I'm back to a training, when sparring in the gym at this weight, and I feel great in there.
Yeah. Do you think this experience of fighting at 145 will ever, I don't know, change your mind and incentivize you to maybe in the future when all things return to normal, do move up to 145?
I mean, it's something to think about in the future. I don't know how long this game will last, but I'm definitely enjoying the fact that I don't have to deal with that drastic weight cut. The only thing is like realistically, body size, my frame, my reach, and everything is not meant for 145. To be honest, I mean the highest 162, 163 out of camp, like after fights, couple weeks after fights. So I'm not that big of a guy in general, especially with my frame. I don't know how I would do up there. It'd be something that would be interesting to test out like later, maybe when I have a couple fights left.
Yeah. And we don't outside of the pandemic, MMA is usually a pretty crazy sport and anything can happen. Opponents can pop for something or get injured and they can always withdraw. But now with the pandemic, it sort of added an extra layer. At this point, when you sign a contract with someone, do you kind of feel like I might be fighting them, but like there's a good chance I just could be fighting somebody else when the date comes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always those thoughts are creeping up in the back of your mind, like what's going to happen. I hope none of my corners test positive. I hope, my opponent's good and his corners are good. And you're just like, the whole situation where if something does go wrong, you're essentially stuck in that state for like 14 days and you can't drive home or anything like that. You can't fly. So I really didn't want to have to deal with any of that. So I was just praying that none of that happened. And I think we're good so far, but we got one more test Friday. So you're always on your toes with this.
Yeah. And as far as the matchup with Ricky, I know you got a fight upcoming, but you really wanted that fight. You had been calling him out on Twitter for a while. Do you hope that the UFC revisits that matchup at some point in the future?
Simon says we get it again, probably in a couple of months or something.
All right. All right, man. Good luck in your fight. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, man.
We'll take our last set of questions from Pablo Santamaria with Notima, Ecuador.
Hey, hello, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Everything is fine. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks.
So I want to ask you, you said that without cutting weight, you are focused more on your training. So it's like you can focus more on your opponent and doing your job and not draining yourself or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still have to cut a little bit of weight. It's not that same feeling as making 135. So it's a big difference of how much energy is being stolen from my body and also how much is being taken away from my mind, like just focusing on the fight and feeling good and all that stuff. So I think just the whole energy about it is better. And I'm just, ready to go in there and perform. I'm not one of those guys that really cares like who am I fighting? What is this? What is that? It's like I got a whole new opponent. I thought it was Ricky Simone, but I was prepared to fight the best guy that was in front of me. So that's how I'm looking at it.
Okay, so you're coming from a loss against a top 10 fighter. So what did you learn from that fight? I mean, it was a very good fight, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I felt good in there. I competed well. He's a solid fighter, top 10. I lost by points. I don't think I got dominated or just completely outclassed or anything like that. Then I would feel differently. But I took a lot of good details away from that fight, and I think I gained confidence from that experience as well.
Uh, what are you expecting from Kevin? I mean, he's on a 5 win streak, so he might make a name for winning you because you're on the top 10 of the bantamweight division.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not ranked right now, but obviously this is his debut, so he's coming in to try to make a statement and get a good contract with the UFC. I'm, trying to keep my stay with the UFC, so there's always stakes on the line. But I just expect a guy that's hungry, that wants to make a name for himself, and he's gonna bring the fight. He's a powerful guy, he's a strong guy. But I was prepared for Ricky Simon, so I'm prepared to fight anybody.
Okay, and if you get the win on Saturday, do you want to fight O'Malley or who do you want next?
Yeah, I mean, part of the mystique with that fight has been taken away from, Chito beat him. So, part of it is like wanting to take that O away from a guy that's undefeated, that has this invincibility about him, that, you want to steal that and take all the shine. He's still definitely a big fight, for the future. We'll definitely meet at some point, I think. But, I'm also interested in the Ricky Simone fight. I think that's a fight that kind of propels me back to that top 15 range.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for you today, Brian. Thank you.
All right, thanks.